Welcome back. Happy Freedom Friday. I'm just getting Facebook lined up. Getting started. Freedom Friday live feed. I'm loving today's topic. Talking about burnout. Banishing burnout in 2022. That's my goal. I'm not taking it with me. Ended the end of last year in 2 inches from burnout. And so that's how this subject matter came up, because I'm just getting back to myself. I think it's worth talking about because when I post about it, people always give feedback, and basically we're all in this together and we're experiencing this together. First, Freedom Friday live feed. This is Freedom Friday. We're talking about everything Office Without Walls lifestyle. That means everything related to being a remote professional, being untethered to that desk, living our best lives, living free, living abundantly free, living free professionally, living free emotionally, living free mentally, living free financially. Getting to that level of living that lifestyle that we love. Hey Ryan, good to see you. So today, talking about burnout, I want to define burnout first, because I think it's one of those things that you don't even know is coming until it hits you. But I found some definitions for burnout, one being a state of fatigue or frustration brought about by a devotion to a cause, way of life, or relationship that failed to produce the expected reward. It's very much a mental state, right? And then the World Health Organization classifies employee burnout specifically, because that's what I'm talking about today, as a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. So the takeaway is ongoing stress. Happy Friday. Ongoing stress, exposing ourselves to ongoing stress continuously for long periods of time leads to physical, psychological, emotional problems that are classified as burnout, but we can catch it before we get there. And more importantly, it's not something it's not a concept that's going to go away. So we have to be mindful, and also showing the people we love, because we don't want them to burn out either. We want to keep them around. So that's the definition of burnout, just some statistics so that we're on the same page. Burnout has become a rising subject since the pandemic, especially because we have that work-life separation not happening. People having trouble separating themselves. So burnout has been on the rise. 52% of all workers are feeling burned up. That's a 10% increase from pre-COVID days. What else? I got 75% of people felt burned out at work, and 40% have felt so since the pandemic. The numbers are just going up. 67% of U.S. workers believe that the pandemic has increased burnout significantly. This is a real issue. And so what are the symptoms? I'll tell you my story, because I ended the end of last year this close to burnout, this close. And really it had started long before. And so some of the things I haven't shared about what's going on is there were changes in my office that came about in October. And the changes very much came about probably because burnout had already started to set in, not just with me, but with my employees. So those changes that happened in my office in October were that it went down to me. Just me, little old me running the office by myself. And so took on a lot of additional stress that I wasn't anticipating. And the burnout did sneak up on me, because you just think it's just stress, right? But then there was a point in time around November when I started forgetting things. And one of the crucial symptoms for me, and everybody's different, one of the crucial symptoms for me is when I start getting irritable about things that I typically like to do, or just dealing with people in general. Easy tasks become too much to even comprehend, or just something that annoys you, right? That's a red flag. That's a red flag. Something that I plan on paying attention to. So what are some of the symptoms of burnout? Because there's physical symptoms, there's psychological symptoms, frequent headaches. I know that's a big thing for me. Tension, grinding my teeth, holding my breath, that kind of stuff. Gastrointestinal problems. Obviously, we're holding it in our body. It's going to be coming out some way. Loss of sleep, depression, resentment, irritability. That's the one I just told you about for me. When things start to get irritable, it's usually on a regular basis. If it's simple things that I seemingly would enjoy, talking to clients. I love what I do. So why would I be irritable about talking to a client? That's a red flag. Forgetfulness. That's what towards the end really started to sink in for me. I thought I turned 39 in March. I was like, oh, this must be what happens when you get closer to 40. You start forgetting things. No, but it was more significant than that. It was really mixing things up, starting to think I was going crazy. And so I really had to take time off. I shut down the office on the 22nd. It wasn't even supposed to happen that soon. I shut down the office on the 22nd. I didn't come back until the new year. And it took a good I mean, it took most of that break to even get my brain into a state where I could like think things through without it like being hurtful. Yeah. So, you know, your brain needs to rest. And so when I get to the solutions with regards to the burnout, taking time off and real time off is one of the most important ones. So my story is that, you know, my burnout probably started long before, probably sometime in June, snuck up on me. And by the time I got to November, felt like I was losing my mind. And so what could I have done to do better with that? Making sure that I was aware of those red flags sooner and putting things in place. So one thing I stumbled upon that I thought was really interesting was that a group at Winona State University took the time to get into the stages of burnout and classifying the stages of burnout to help people recognize when it's coming on before it happens, before it hits. Because you can have symptoms of burnout and address them and reverse them before they become something that lands you in the hospital with some kind of physical ailment that's a manifestation of stress or a psychological break. So the stages of burnout, I thought this was really interesting. Number one is the honeymoon phase. So when you get that new job, that new project, that new task, that new thing that you're doing and you're excited about it, you're committed to the task at hand and you feel creative and determined to perform well. That doesn't feel stressful at all, right? So that's the honeymoon phase. And then stage two, the balancing act. This is when you start to notice what the stressors are in the job and that there are negatives that come along with it. And you're starting to try and balance it. Your lower productivity might appear alongside escapist activities in your downtime where you're trying to distract yourself from being stressed. But this is the point when we need to start addressing the stress. Hey, Auntie, love you. Your physical symptoms will worsen. And this is when the physical starts. Sorry, I skipped a step. My bad. That was the balancing act. Chronic symptoms. So the stress symptoms now become apparent. They're starting to show up in the everyday. You start to withdraw more from friends. The manifestations of the stress are setting in, the chronic symptoms. The crisis stage is where the burnout symptoms become critical, potentially to the cause of causing long-term damage to your body. And it's really important to pay attention to this, guys, because if we put ourselves under sustained stress for too long a period of time, we can cause problems that are long-term and not good for us. So, you know, keep this in mind. It's a really serious issue. And then the last stage, and this is where you don't want to get to, is the enmeshment, where the burnout life becomes your life and it is your normal. And that is not a good place to be in. It's a place I've been in. It's a place where I was prior to starting my own practice working for other people. And so the fact that I find myself back here on the verge of it is a sign that I need to do some inventory. Well, I'll get into that later. So those are the 5 stages as defined by Winona State University in Minnesota. I thought that was really interesting. So recognizing the stages, making sure we're being mindful of those things, knowing your symptoms, right? So I went over some of the symptoms a while ago: the fatigue, headaches, depression, resentment, irritability, forgetfulness. These are signs that it's time to take a break. Take a break, take some time off. How do you fix burnout once you recognize that it's there? Like I said, take an extensive period of break, but also seek professional help. Find someone to talk to about it. You're not gonna, if you had the tools to prevent it, you wouldn't be in that state. Find somebody who can help you put tools in place so that you can bring yourself back and then remain resilient after that. How do we prevent it? Good question. All that self-care, all that good old self-care is how we prevent it. Regular exercise, spending time outside. I have a post from last year about 15 minutes in nature every day. Game changer. Just get outside. Even if you just stand out on your front porch or your back porch or wherever, 15 minutes outside in nature, fresh air, critical. Get a good night's sleep. My relationship with sleep has become so sweet in this past year. I am a chronic non-sleeper. My mind runs constantly. I get into bed intending to sleep, very tired, really ready to pass out, and then she starts going, right? So how do we get into a pattern of good sleep? Setting the tone, creating the environment for that. I know it sounds like what everybody says, but turning off devices closer to bed. I set a tone in my bedroom for sleep, all right? The the aromatherapy with the oil infuser, I get that going about an hour before I go. The lights come down. Things get quiet. I set that tone for sleep. It was really crazy to think, I used to think I could just run myself ragged all day and then just hop into bed and be ready to sleep. It doesn't work like that. Get yourself in a good relationship with sleep and get enough sleep every night. One, I share a lot about my recovery, and I'm always open about it. One of the things that was a part of my recovery is that I used to drink because I couldn't sleep. But, you know, and I guess I'm bringing that up to say that lack of sleep can lead to a lot of things that are degenerative in terms of your overall health. So don't slack on that. I always prided myself on someone who could survive on 5 hours of sleep, right? But that's not, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. So let's get good exercise, spend time in nature, get a good night's sleep. All right, so that's talking about burnout, preventing it, recognizing it. Really, it's about awareness, mindfulness, and then applying the tools. And guys, it's not an overnight matter. I'm telling you this stuff as I'm experiencing it, and I've been going at this for 7 years. I've been in recovery for 7 years. I've been working on my health for 7 years, and I still run into stuff. It's not an overnight matter. Here are the 3 R's that I'm going to leave you with regards to banishing burnout in 2022. First, everything I've been talking about today, recognizing it. What are your signs? What are your red flags? Don't paint them green. Recognize them and do something about it. Reverse, undo the damage. Number one thing, take time off if you can. If you can take time off, take it off, take time to yourself. Those are boundaries you need to set. Get professional help if you need to. Reverse what's going on, because it will be progressive if you don't. Resilience. Be resilient and finding your tools and finding your solution. There is a way to be mindful, managing stress in a way that doesn't allow us to get there. We just need to figure out what works for us, right? Get advice from multiple places. Take what works for you and leave the rest. The morning routine is also part of having it become your life. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Stephen, thank you. So those are my 3 R's I'm leaving you with for banishing burnout in 2022, recognizing it, reversing it, and being resilient. This has been an Office About Walls Freedom Friday feed. I love talking with y'all. I love that it's Friday too. I hope you all have a safe and productive weekend, and I will see you again next week.